Welcome to Fun Facts Daily, your source for just the good stuff. Monday through Friday, we're bringing fun facts and news you can use, all carefully curated to uplift and inform. So give yourself a break, relax, and learn something awesome in just a few minutes every day. Hi everyone, I'm Kyle Wood, and today we're going to be learning all about eggs. But before we get into the facts, let's warm up our brains with a little challenge to see if you can tell fact from fiction. Consider this. There's an old legend saying that there are just 2 days a year, the spring and autumn equinox, where you can successfully balance a raw egg upright on its end. The story goes that because of the specific gravitational pull of the sun and the alignment of the earth on those days, the egg will stand perfectly still. What do you think? Is this an actual fact of physics or just too good to be true? We'll find out at the end of the episode. Now for your word of the day. Our word for today is oology. That's O-O-L-O-G-Y. Now, ornithology is the study of birds, and oology is a specific branch within that dealing with the study of bird eggs, nests, and breeding behavior. While a general bird watcher looks at the feathers and the flight patterns of the birds themselves, an oologist is looking closely at the diverse shapes, colors, and textures of the shells to understand how different species protect their future offspring. It's a science that helps researchers understand the health of bird populations based on how successful their nesting habits are. Like so many words, it's derived from ancient Greek. It's a combination of the words oion, which means egg, and the suffix logi, which means the study of. Historically, oology was sometimes associated with egg collecting as a hobby, which unfortunately harmed some bird populations in the Victorian era. But modern scientific oology is very different. It focuses on conservation and observation, helping us protect endangered birds by understanding exactly what their eggs need to survive in the wild. Time for your daily high five, our top 5 fun facts about eggs. Number 1. An eggshell is an architectural marvel that's incredibly strong when squeezed, but fragile when tapped. While they look and in some ways are very delicate, the shape of an egg is actually a natural arch, which is one of the strongest architectural forms in history. If you were to take a raw egg and squeeze it with equal pressure on the top and bottom poles, it is almost impossible for a human to break it because the curved shape distributes the pressure evenly across the entire surface. This structural integrity is what allows a mother hen to sit on her eggs to keep them warm without crushing them. Of course, we all know that eggs can be broken, though. The egg is designed with a very specific weakness, and for a good reason. While it resists crushing pressure from the outside, it's relatively weak against uneven force or sharp pressure from the inside. This allows the baby chick, when it's very strong, to peck its way out of the shell using its egg tooth when it's time to hatch. Number 2. The reason Americans refrigerate eggs while Europeans don't comes down to a tiny protective layer called the bloom. When a hen lays an egg, it's naturally coated with a microscopic wet film that dries instantly to seal the shell's pores. This layer, called the cuticle or bloom, prevents bacteria from entering the egg and keeps moisture from evaporating, allowing the egg to sit safely on a counter for weeks. But in the United States, commercial egg farmers are required by law to power wash eggs to make sure they're clean before they hit store shelves. This washing process scrubs away that natural protective seal. Because the bloom has been removed, American eggs become vulnerable to bacteria and spoilage if they're left out at room temperature. To compensate for the loss of this natural armor, the eggs have to be constantly refrigerated from the farm to the grocery store to your home. In contrast, many European countries leave the bloom intact and vaccinate the chickens against salmonella instead. Number 3. Humans have been decorating ostrich eggs as art and water containers for at least about 60,000 years. Long before the modern tradition of dyeing Easter eggs, ancient hunter gatherers in Africa were using massive ostrich eggs as practical tools and canvases for artistic expression. Archaeological digs at the Diepkloof rock shelter in South Africa have uncovered fragments of ostrich eggshells engraved with geometric patterns that date back tens of thousands of years. These eggs were likely used as canteens to store water during long treks across arid landscapes, making them a vital survival tool. The fact that these ancient people took time to scratch intricate hatched patterns and lines into the shells suggests they weren't just thinking about survival, but also about identity and art. It indicates early symbolic thinking and possibly a way to mark ownership or trade value among different groups of people. Number 4. The bee hummingbird lays the smallest bird egg in the world. It's barely the size of a coffee bean. Variety is the spice of life, and when it comes to eggs, there is an absolutely massive variety. The bee hummingbird, found primarily in Cuba, lays an egg that weighs only about half a gram, and it's roughly the size of a green pea or a small coffee bean. These tiny little eggs are laid in nests that are equally small, often made of cobwebs and lichen, and about the size of a quarter. Now, on the other end of the scale, the ostrich egg is the largest living bird egg. It can weigh up to 3 pounds, and it's strong enough for a human to stand on. It would take about 4,700 bee hummingbird eggs to equal the weight of just a single ostrich egg. Now, as long as I'm talking egg sizes, here's a little bonus fact. While the ostrich lays the biggest egg, kiwi eggs are the biggest proportionate to their body size. Most birds lay eggs that are a small fraction of their weight, but the kiwi's egg is about 20% of the mother's body mass. To put that in perspective, it would be the equivalent of a human mother giving birth to a fully formed 4-year-old child. Because the egg is so massive, the female kiwi has to eat 3 times her normal amount of food just to produce it. But then, just before she lays the egg, it's taking up so much space inside her body, she can barely eat at all. Now, if you're wondering why they lay such big eggs, it's a high-risk, high-reward evolutionary strategy. Kiwi chicks hatch in a much more advanced state than other birds. While many bird hatchlings are naked, blind, and helpless, a baby kiwi emerges fully feathered and ready to forage for food on its own within days. This evolutionary strategy, known as being precocial, allows the parents to spend less time feeding their chick in the nest. And our 5th and final fun fact for today: the traditional tall white hat worn by chefs features 100 pleats to represent the 100 ways a chef could cook an egg. The formal chef's hat, known as the toque blanche, is a symbol of culinary mastery, and the number of folds was originally meant to indicate the wearer's level of experience. In the early days of French cuisine, the egg was considered the most versatile and difficult ingredient to master perfectly. If a chef wore a hat with 100 distinct pleats, it signified that they had mastered every possible technique from poaching and frying to scrambling and souffléing. It was a wearable resume that commanded immediate respect in the kitchen. The egg is unique in the culinary world because its proteins change structure at very specific temperatures, allowing for wildly different textures. A difference of just a few degrees or a few seconds of whisking can turn a liquid into a solid, a foam, or an emulsion like mayonnaise. Because of this chemical complexity, the egg remains the ultimate test of a chef's skill, even today. The pleats in the hat serve as a historical reminder that there are numerous ways to work with something as seemingly simple as an egg. Now for some news you can use. Here's a little kitchen hack to help you determine if your eggs are still fresh or if they belong in the compost bin. If you're unsure if your eggs are still good, try the float test. You just have to fill a bowl with cold water and gently place your egg inside. If the egg sinks to the bottom and lays flat on its side, you'll know it's still fresh. If the egg sinks but stands upright on one end, it's still okay to eat but should probably be used soon. And these are actually great for hard boiling. But if an egg floats at the top, that one's past its prime and best to discard. This works because eggshells are semi-permeable, meaning air can pass through them, but very slowly. As an egg ages, the liquid inside evaporates slightly and the air pocket inside the shell grows larger. Eventually, that air pocket becomes big enough to make the egg buoyant. It's a simple bit of kitchen science that'll help you avoid cracking a bad egg into your frying pan. Now for the moment you've been waiting for. At the beginning of the episode, I asked, can you really only balance an egg on its end during the equinox? Well, that's a myth. While it's a fun tradition to try on the first day of spring, the truth is you can balance a raw egg on its end any day of the year. There's no special gravitational change on the equinox that makes this easier. The ability to balance an egg comes down more to the texture of the eggshell, the roughness of the surface you're using, and a whole lot of patience. If you have a steady hand and find an egg with a slightly bumpy bottom, you can perform this magic trick in the middle of July or December just as easily as in March. Now, I hope you enjoyed learning a bit about eggs with me today, and be sure to tune in every weekday for even more fun facts. Fun Facts Daily is an Airwave Media podcast. It was written, recorded, mixed, and edited by me, Kyle Wood. Thanks for sharing a part of your day with me. Be sure to follow Fun Facts Daily on your favorite podcast app so you can keep the good stuff coming your way every day. And if you like the show, please do me a favor and leave a kind rating, review, or just tell your friends about it.